So hello everybody, welcome back to another episode on entrepreneurship. So today we have founder of Waha and the managing director of Waha. So thank you very much for being here. It's my pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Lakshit.
Yeah. So
Thank you
before
for
starting,
inviting.
before starting with anything, if you can speak about yourself and what you do, that would be amazing.
Sure. So I started a company called Wahab. We started it to reduce, reuse, and recycle food waste actually. So I am the founder and managing director, and I was chosen among the top 30 most influential people to impact the community in Qatar in
Okay.
2019. Alhamdulillah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, so what do you do in your company? Like if you can speak about the motto of the company and what is your company about?
Right. So Wahab means to give without expecting anything in return.
Okay.
And this is what our company mission is, that we started this company. It was a dream project of mine to
Okay.
redistribute the surplus food, because you see in the Middle East that there's lots of food and it all goes into the bin, right? And we
Yeah.
can do so much. We can, this is not what we are supposed to do with the food. We can redistribute it to people who require a free meal. I mean,
Yeah.
who wouldn't love a free meal?
Yeah.
So we went to people and we asked them, is it okay if you could give us a surplus food rather than
Wasting.
throwing it into the bin?
Yeah.
They were completely happy with it, and we distributed to communities, and alhamdulillah, it worked out well. So we understood that this is not a sustainable solution, because we need people to understand to reduce their food waste as well. So we went into schools, we went into F&B outlets, we talked about consuming responsibly to reduce their food waste.
Yeah.
And so there are some clients who come back to us and say, what do you do with regard to your food waste? I mean, there's inevitable food waste like banana
Yeah.
peels, coffee grinds. So all these, we said, okay, we need to complete the cycle.
Mhm.
So we are into recycling of food waste as well. So we are offering composting solutions for guys as well.
Okay, wonderful. And is it a company with is it a non-profit organization or is it a funding organization? How does it works at Waha? How does it works?
It's a company,
Okay.
in the sense that we have two legs. One of them is for our charitable activities.
Okay.
So we don't take any income for that. We just select the surplus food, we package it, and we redistribute it.
Okay.
So there are costs that are involved, because the packaging sometimes is not provided by the food outlets.
Okay.
So we have to purchase the food, the packaging, and there are transportation costs involved as well. Because if we're talking about some of them are food distributors, so you get palletized food
Yeah.
packets,
Yeah.
and so these involve transportation handling costs, right? So we understood that this cannot be run as a non-profit organization. We need to get some kind of income so that we are able to sustain our charitable side as well. So what we plan to do is to have the business side through our composting business, through our recycling, to
Okay.
sustain the company part as well, the both sides.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
it's not a yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for explaining me the idea of the company. So how did you get
Thank you.
this idea of starting Waha? What was the reason? Like what really touched your mind to start Waha?
Basically, it was the frustration,
Okay.
because every time you see food waste being thrown, it gets to a point where the guilt builds up, and you can't take it anymore, right?
Yeah.
So there is a hadith, a saying of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he says, "He is not a believer who eats to his fill while his neighbor is hungry." So it shows the community responsibility, in which we are supposed to share things like food, because food is not a luxury, right? Food is a basic need, and we have to help out people. We have to lend a hand to people around
Yeah.
the community
Yeah.
that do not have food, right? And this doesn't depend on race, religion, color, language. This is not what you have to have, that ability to care, to empathize with people around you.
Yeah.
And in an Islamic neighborhood, a neighbor means 40 houses around you.
Okay.
So we can never be sure that someone is not, is not hungry in your neighborhood.
Okay.
So, and I keep thinking that, if there is such a, what do you say, if there is such an emphasis on looking after the community, why is it not being implemented?
Okay.
Right? Especially so, the food we are talking about is 5-star meals, right? 3-course meals. You have an appetizer, you have a proper lunch, and a proper meal, and then you have a dessert as well. And it's such a shame that it all has to go into the bin. So what we did is, and especially during our get-togethers, our parties as well, we had surplus food, and I was always wondering if there was an organization where I could give this and they would distribute to people in need. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So I asked my husband. I remember I was sitting in the car late at night, and I was really frustrated because we went taking rounds in the car looking for people, if there are any people who need food, and we couldn't find any. And I was like, why isn't anyone starting something, or why isn't anybody having an organization something like this? And my husband said, if there isn't, why don't you start one?
Okay.
So don't wait for somebody else to start it. So alhamdulillah, so this was the beginning of Wahab. And later on we understood that there is a food bank in Qatar, but it's a local food bank. So it's because the medium of communication was Arabic, lot of expatriates are aware of it. So we wanted to test the waters. So we went into Qatar. So there was, after a few months, there was the Qatar International Food Festival. So you have various outlets, and when it's a food festival, you never know. You can't anticipate the amount of food waste that ends up in the end, right? Because you cook a lot, anticipating more people, and then if there aren't, you throw them. So we went into the food festival. We asked the food outlets, are you willing to give your surplus food? Because we had to test the waters, and they were really willing. So we went around the third day, and they said, why didn't you come to us the first day? Right?
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, they were really happy. They packaged the food, and we started out with one volunteer the first day. So it was just completely social media. We put it out on Facebook, and the second day we had 2 volunteers, and today it has grown over 2 years to 150, more than 150 volunteers. Alhamdulillah.
Wonderful. Okay, great. You're doing a great job. Thank you for serving the community. Thank you very much. So coming to the packaging thing, you said you believe in recycle, reuse, and the 3 R's. So how do you keep your packaging plastic free? How do you does it has any kind of plastic? Just a simple question, not to not to say any kind of thing. Just to know, is it used plastic, or how do you do your packaging to distribute the food?
Definitely. So when we started, it was just plastic.
Okay.
And so we had comments from some people, why don't you make it plastic free? The thing with plastic free packaging is the price goes up really high.
Yeah,
so it's
very much
high price to pay. And what we thought was, if these people if there were customers who bought this, they would buy it in the plastic packaging as well.
Yeah.
Right? And if it is given to people in need, it's given in the plastic packaging as well. So it's not like we are increasing the plastic problem, but we are not reducing the plastic problem as well.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is reducing the carbon footprint, because people don't have to buy extra food and extra packaged food, right? But there is the problem of them using plastic packaging as well. So during our campaigns, we offer both kind of solutions. We say that there is the plastic-free packaging, but it involves a certain cost. And there is the plastic packaging, which is very cheap. So we do both, but we would like to do plastic-free packaging as well. So this is why we are in partnership with a few companies that said they would give it cost price. During our campaigns, they could, but it still doesn't match the plastic. And
Right.
people, the thing is, so in Ramadan, we had this iftar meals where we would give food for low-income workers for around 10 riyals, right? So the problem is, if you put it into a plastic-free packaging, it would cost around 14 riyals. So people would be like, why would I pay 14 riyals for the same food if I can get it for 10 reals. So the thing is, right? So the thing is, we have to change the mindset, but we need to take baby steps. If we're going to say that, no, we're going to do only plastic-free packaging,
it's going to be hard. Yeah.
Right. And it's the low-income workers that are going to suffer, right? Because they're not getting a free meal. So we want to take baby steps. So this is why all 3 steps are important. We need to create awareness, and we need to do what we can right now. And we need to get into the recycling as well.
Okay, wonderful. And can you just explain the situations regards to coronavirus in Qatar? I know you guys, like Qatar has a lot of tourism coming every year. So are you guys also being affected through the virus, or it's not that much? How is the situations?
There is no lockdown in Qatar as of now, but schools are closed. So there's just online learning. All shops except essentials like groceries and pharmacies are open. Hospitals have shut down most of their departments except for a few of them, right? Only a few centers are open. But the thing is that Qatar is at its peak. It's at its peak. So, numbers are going up. It's around 1,800 to 2,000 cases now. But the good thing is, because they have state-of-the-art facilities here in Qatar, the number of recoveries are very high as well. And Qatar is one of the countries that has the lowest death rates. I think it is the first country to have the lowest death rate, and then is Singapore.
Okay, wonderful.
But there is a plan to open up slowly, because this kind of situation is not healthy, it's not sustainable. So we are trying to open up, whereas to keep our population safe as well.
Okay, wonderful. And how do you as an organization, as a company, work? Like you said, you distribute food. Like, is it how is it being affected distributing food? And are you still doing it in the time when you are not really into lockdown, but you are closed in your houses?
Yes, it has affected our some of our community activities, but in Ramadan, it was really active, alhamdulillah. So what we did is, what we usually do is, we partner up with the restaurant and we ask the volunteers to help with the packaging. So they are involved, they feel that.
Okay.
And then we go into communities and we distribute the surplus food. But in this case, we have limited our volunteers to a very basic minimum. We have for each campaign, we have around just 5 to 3 volunteers. And they all have been trained by the Red Crescent. So it's just like the Red Cross in India. It's called the Qatar Red Crescent Society. So they have trained our volunteers. So all of them are trained. They know the safety protocols. So what we do is that we don't involve volunteers for activities, but we still do the distribution. And we do not distribute surplus food as of now, because this is very risky. Because in case if anybody has coronavirus and they're asymptomatic, because most of the cases in Qatar are asymptomatic, that is, they don't show any symptoms. So in case they have any kind of, if they are infected and it is given to a community worker, usually they live together, right? So it does more harm than good. So we are limiting surplus food. We're just doing fresh food as of now.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So coming to the coming to your company things. If you can speak about how do you as a company work, and how does the business goes on? Not in kind of money, but how does the business model works in your company? If you can speak about that.
Right. So we are self-funded. This company, I am the founder, and my husband is my colleague as well. So it's it's a family company, and we have 3 core members in our team, and like you said, this is that we we have the help of our volunteers for helping out during our activities. So the thing is that sometimes we reach out to organizations for handling activities, because they're interested in CSR and sustainability, because Qatar has FIFA 2022 in the coming 2 years. It's very much looking into sustainability initiatives, because Qatar has promised to hold a carbon neutral World Cup into 2022. So they are really investing, they are really looking into sustainability initiatives. The government is doing a lot to support these initiatives. So companies, they are into the lookout of sustainability initiatives, and they'd like to partner with these kind of initiatives. And with regard to some of the companies, they come to us, they say, what kind of activities do you want to do regarding CSR? So it works both ways.
Okay. And as a business, how are you being affected because of this pandemic? How is as a business you're affected?
There is the kind of we have been affected because we were just going to bring out our composting solutions into Qatar.
Okay.
And the lockdown obviously has meant that there is because there's been a lockdown, the products haven't arrived in Qatar yet. So we have been affected by the lockdown, but there's always good in something that we perceive as an obstacle, right?
Yeah.
So we are trying to take positive one step at a time, inshallah.
Okay. And what kind of composting you're looking with? What is the idea behind that thing?
Right. So we want to look into areas, different kind of needs, because if you're looking into 5-star hotels, if you're looking into big institutions, they are not going to, they are not willing to, or they don't have the time to actually layer the compost, with cocoa peat and all that. So we need solutions that are effective, that is composting that it turns into compost, the food waste into not compost, because you can't say the food that you put into a machine that it doesn't turn into compost in 24 hours, right? You can't call it compost, but it is nutrient rich soil. But it needs curing. It needs a curing period as well. So we're offering those kind of solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have for schools where we want children to touch the soil. We want them to participate in the composting process and see the worms, be connecting with nature. And we want them to use this proper compost in their gardens to grow vegetables. So we're offering solutions for that as well as for home and apartments as well. So the small kind of composting bins, inshallah. So this is our plan.
Okay, and what would be an advice by your side for anybody who wants to start in social enterprise like yours, like Wahab? What would be your advice to that?
I would say to go behind your passion and not be afraid of failure, because we never know what we are capable of unless we start. So go for it and look into your passion. Don't do something just because somebody else is doing it. Look into yourself, look into what you're passionate about. And if nobody has started it, give it a try. And there'll be always people, and don't worry about people coming to help you out, how you're going to set it up.
Yeah.
When there is a will, there is a way as well. So start a company and things will fall into place. And obviously, if you start a company, there will be challenges, but that is just to test how passionate you are. It's not about closing your company. It's about how passionate you are and how willing you are to persevere. Inshallah.
Okay. And what were your difficulties and kind of failures you got in the journey of starting Wahab and running Wahab?
Right. So, like I said, when we started this company, it was basically a non-profit, but we understood that costs pile up. When it adds up, initially it's fine, but when it keeps adding up and you're just putting money into the company, it has a satisfaction, obviously you're helping people, but we understand that it is not sustainable. So we had to look into solutions to make the company sustainable. So we had challenges regarding that. Okay. And as any startup, we had some challenges regarding our team members as well, because there was a split in the company as well. But like I said, these are all challenges and these things happen, but eventually it's about how much passionate you are about your cause.
Okay, wonderful. So last question, what would be an advice by your side to anybody, not an advice, a message you would like to live to anybody, like how can you help the community, how can you do good to people, any kind of message you would like to leave here?
Right. So what I believe is success, it does not depend on which car you ride.
Yeah.
It does not depend on the house you have or the bag, the designer bag that's on your hand, but it depends on how many people you have affected positively.
Okay.
So there is a level above success, which is called significance. And this is how we have to live our life. That when you help somebody out, when you help them to achieve success as well, that's when you have satisfaction. That is when you are truly fulfilled.
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, thank you very much for being here. It was my pleasure to have you, and a lot of things and you're doing a great job by helping the community in Qatar. And yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.